Alright, here what's going on, guys, is our chat. Well, before I get into this is just a little video summarizing my thoughts from my last few seasons of playing Cosmic Sky. My microphone isn't even in front of me, that's not a good start. I'm going to keep eye on the time to make sure I don't, go on too much. I'm just going to be saying my piece. Most of the stuff I've said on, everything here I've said on stream already. But I just thought I'd put it all in one place. Now I don't have a script. I'm just going to ramble. But yeah, well, as per usual. So just I apologize if this video goes on too long. Let's get started in it though. But yeah, this is just my thoughts on Cosmic. What I think needs to change to improve it. What I just tabbed out. Just what I think they need to change really. I could be saying some of the bits that are good, but yeah, mainly just what I think needs changing. And before I get into this, I don't hate on Cosmic, and anyone who says that is just anyone who says that doesn't know what they're talking about, doesn't even watch my streams. And obviously, as I've been saying before I get into this, I've been playing Cosmic since season 2. I've been playing Cosmic, streaming Cosmic pretty much every single day, apart from the end of the season like this, where I've been streaming other Cosmic games and whatever. I've been on the Cosmic Sky, in the Cosmic Sky community for 14 months now, 13 and a half months, something like that, since I started my first stream. So I know what I'm talking about, at least. But anyway, let's get into this. So what do I want to see changed on Cosmic? And what have I been telling them to change on Cosmic for ages? And hopefully it would just be easier for the admins to see if I put it all in this one place, right? The role points. Now, I have bitched about role points from the day they've came out. I don't like them. I mean, I've been debating this the last little while, and I've even said in the past, if they tone down role points, maybe they'd be okay. And I don't think they're going to completely remove role points. It's a fundamental part of the game at this point. But I definitely think they need to be turned down, and I personally would completely remove them. Now, why I say this is, well, you don't need to look at them. The purpose of role points is to give players bonuses as they level up. That's fair enough. People, you should have access to bigger things as you level up. That's all completely. I agree with that completely. What I don't agree with is making people split their skills. Now, at the beginning of the season, I can either choose to have all the farming abilities done. I can choose to have the mining abilities done and get myself extra island XP from, or is that, do you get extra island XP? Well, you don't get extra island XP, but being able to, nodes being able to respawn faster, which is quite a big buff. You can choose between what you want to do, but you can't have everything with role points, which I think is wrong. Something so fundamental to the game needs to be open to everyone. I've been, level 70. I've been level 99 at the end of the season, and I've not been able to craft something as simple as a stone pickaxe. That's not my main problem with these role points. But definitely, when you get to a certain level, you should just unlock the basic abilities. You should have the basic abilities. You should be able to place a sugarcane without going on an altar count. And that leads into my next point quite well, really. Altar counts. Now, top players. Sky's a competitive game. Well, it is now, because the community, the casual community, has got on board of playing the server. They're here for the beginning of the season. They're not really here for the end of the season. Even the competitive players have started quitting towards the end of the season at this point. But Sky is a competitive game, and being a competitive game, top players are going to find anything they can, any little advantage, they're going to make the most of it. So role points, for me, I have altar counts. I have 4 altar counts. I can have role points. And I've got ranks on my altar counts. I can do that. I can have, what are they called? I can have the origin. The origin, which is a similar thing with role points, which I'm not a big fan of. Anything that gives you a slight buff, top players are going to do. Top players are going to use an altar count. They're going to use a rank 5 altar count to run a venture on this account. They're going to have a different account for selling. They're going to have an account for mining, an account for farming. The only people that role points hurts are new players to the game. New players to the game, which are not going to be as experienced, are not going to know how to create money as easily as one of us. So buying the roles in the first place are going to be tougher for them. And they're not going to know exactly which role points are the best to go for and which ones they're not going to use later on in the season. You know, if they've never played the game before, they're not going to know, hey, I'm going to need this later on in the season. I'm not going to need this later on in the season, etc. So they're 100% going to waste role points. So many people in my stream saying, what do I spend my role points on? I've wasted my role points. We need to buy a role reset. It's now a bill for a role reset. What am I going to do? Whatever. The role system doesn't matter to me because I know what I'm doing. I have enough experience on the game to work around the role system and get all the roles I need, which are going to give me the most bonuses for everything in the game that turns out to be meta, whether I want to do some mining, whether I want to do some farming, whether I want to do some adventuring. I've got an account for all of them. And I've got an origin suited for when I'm farming for extra sal bonus, when I'm adventuring for extra damage. But new players of the game are not going to have this. So it just puts barriers in the way of new players. And especially, I mean, the origins, I mean, they're little 5% bonuses, they're little 10% bonuses. It's not the end of the world you have those in the game. But again, they are only going to help the top players. And top players already know what they're doing enough. And part of the problem with the level cap is you want to feel like it's more of an even playing field for new players, and so they don't quit the game, basically. And 100%, having any bonuses that are going to make it easier for a top player and harder for a lower ranked player, get rid of. I mean, I'm not saying get rid of ranks. Obviously, the server's got to make money somehow, but definitely get rid of the role. Get rid of the origins / origin. I think I read in the patch notes for the season that they might be doing that finally, which or they're going to rework them or something, which is good. So that's a step in the right direction. But 100% remove role points. I mean, well, the next point of me pointing out how ridiculous this is, I could go to level 99, which is max level, right? Or max level might be 100. I'm not sure. I mean, you physically can't get there. It's so unrealistic with, needing more, like 10 billion or whatever. But, I can be level 70 right now, and I can't plant a potato. I can't plant a sugarcane. I need to go on an alt account for that. If I just need to fix a farm on my island, which is perfectly reasonable. If I need to grind something to get to cocoa bean, if I need to, if I just want to craft some armor, I physically can't do that. If I want to enchant, I can't do that. There's too many roles. They keep adding to roles while still giving people the same amount of role points. And at this point, even if you're max level, you might be able to buy, I don't know, 30% of all the roles. I mean, look at me. I'm max level and I've got a little bit in farming and, well, I'm not max level, but I'm a very high level, level 70. And there's so many roles that I just have not got access to, which I'm not a fan of. So yeah, I honestly think the role system should be completely gotten rid of. That's my personal opinion. I don't think they will, but they definitely should. Well, if you want to make the role system, then make it a little bit less like you need roles. I mean, 1.4 times, maybe turn that down to 1.2 times. Turn it down to 20% double drops. Just make them less open, make them less necessary for any sort of competitive viability. Because it doesn't hinder the top players. It's annoying that I have to log into a different account every time. That's the thing. It's built into Cosmic Client, which just shows if the game design needs you to switch alt accounts, they've made switching alt accounts so easy on the Cosmic Client. It's just poor game design, in my opinion. So that's that. I can't really say much more about role points. Remove them. It doesn't really matter to me much, but it matters a hell of a lot to newer players. I mean, to a point where you can't complete a quest unless you log into an alt account. You need to buy. It's not for me. It's not for me. So yeah, that's my point on that. Yeah, that's my point on role points. Get rid of them, and if they're not going to get rid of them, then definitely remove the ability to remove how overpowered they are. Or what I think that would be a happy middle ground is definitely unlock the ability. Let's say when I get to level 40, just let me craft stone weapons. Let me craft the stone pickaxe. It's not going to break the game, but it's just going to be so much nicer. When you get to when you get to a certain level, allow people to actually be able to place some different crops without having to log to an alt account. Just give people something, whether you want to keep role points, because I like it from a game design point of view. the ability to spec your character like you would in any like an MMO, for instance, like an RPG game. You get to spec your character into different roles, and you're good at this. I'm a warrior. I'm a spellcaster, a healer, whatever. There's different characters across the game, and I can see that's what they're trying to do. But with how Minecraft is with alt accounts, the top players now we're moving into season 8. Top players have already got they've already got rank 5 alt accounts, so they're going to have such an advantage on new players. So make it as accessible as you can for new players. I don't know what the hell I did there. I got probably kicked for being AFK. But anyway, yeah, remove role points. That's the first point. We're 10 minutes in, so let's speed this up a little bit. Adventure. Now, you can go back and watch my 2-hour breakdown of the patch notes when I read them for this season 7. I told them that I liked some of the changes, but I didn't think they went far enough, and I was right. I agree with that. I've been saying this for probably 3 seasons now. But Stian agrees with me now. Everybody in the Sky community says exactly the same thing, and I didn't see any mention to it in the little teasers for the patch notes. So I hope that if you haven't done it, then you change it now, because this is genuinely. You can put a poll on the forums. Genuinely, put a poll on the forums of what I'm about to say now, and every single Cosmic player will agree with me. 90%. Genuinely, it's what everybody wants, and yeah. What I was going to say is adventures. Now, they've done the island level cap, which is amazing, which helps slow down the game. The next point really is just slow down the game. Really, the game progresses way too quickly. The game is so just ridiculously too fast. Let me just actually double check. So now I'm saying this, I'm panicking. I don't have enough hard drive space. 60. Yeah, we're good. Where was I? Yeah, slow down the game. The game goes too quickly. The game is boring. The end game is boring. You're mining cocoa beans. I've said this for the longest time. There's enough content in the game. The game is interesting enough. There's more than enough content in the game, enough depth to the game. They just need to slow the game down. You just gotta chill. What I'm hoping is that this season was the test for island points, and now they figured out that island points works. They're going to then introduce. Now they figured out that island points work. They're probably going to. Yeah, this will make them easier to slow the game down with limited adventures, right? Because the top islands are going to find something to compete with. The top islands are going to compete for slot tickets. The top islands are going to compete for anything that's going to give them an advantage. And now you got island points. That's the perfect thing for them to compete with. And they're going to be happy competing for those while you slow down the game for the masses, and the masses don't get too far behind the top islands. So you need to limit adventures. You need to make it just so the content doesn't get boring. I'm through the first couple of adventures in the first couple of days, and then the entire season is grinding Dark Portal for about 3 weeks, and then once you're through that stage of the game, you grind cocoa beans for about 3 weeks. The early game is only a couple weeks at this point, and it's a shame. You've got all these tiers of mining, all these tiers of farming. Now, obviously, part of the reason that the game is more fun at the beginning is because you make that such quick progress. But the end game is just such a grind to get to the later tiers. Then when you're on the later tiers, you kind of just stay there. You stay on the cocoa beans. You stay on the whatever, the Enderman, you stay on the final tier of mining / farming / Slayer for just way too long. You've got to make the progression pretty slow. You can't, get through coal and iron within a couple days. It's got to be slowed down. And now that the top islands can compete for island points, by hopefully lock in access to adventures, I would say lock access to adventures, because I think they did this season, where they locked the ability to actually place down nodes, so you couldn't place down a diamond node until you'd reached a certain level. But I don't think that's right, because top islands are still just going to grind and get the advantage to, they're going to have a PV full of diamond nodes. They're just waiting to place them, which as soon as the level cap comes, then it's just a huge wave. They surge past everyone else, and it makes it less enjoyable for new players who are then less likely to return to the server. So they definitely need to cap adventures so that islands can compete. So islands can compete for island points. So islands can compete for island XP, and therefore island points as well. They can compete for they can buy the market of slot tickets. They can compete for money to buy island points, to buy items that are going to help them later on in the season, as they do at the moment. There's still the realms they can do. I think the realms should be slowed down, but I'll say that later. But yeah, I definitely think cap the adventures. This is the big thing. People have been asking for this. Everyone's been asking for this. Everyone wants this. I don't know why they haven't done it. But yeah, the adventures need to be capped. It's just boring. It's just boring. I'd much rather grind the first adventure for more than a couple days, and then have to grind cocoa beans for maybe the final 2 weeks rather than the final month. Anything to slow the game down. There's enough content. It just goes past way too quickly. So anything they can do to slow the game down, and in my opinion, it should be cap the adventures. I personally, because top islands are going to... Well, what they did this season is they made adventure maps harder to get. Now, I criticised that as soon as I saw it, and I'm criticising it now. It didn't work. Making the maps... Now, I thought that would work if they brought maps into loot boxes, but they didn't even bring maps into loot boxes this season. They literally just left the... They literally just left the new players, left the noobs would be a word, left the casual players of the server to grind their own maps out, which is impossibly hard. Whereas the top islands with loads of people in them, the top islands easily grinded all their way. The top islands, it wasn't a problem. The top islands could get to God, it's so early, man. It's too early in the morning. What was I saying? Top islands could get to what? Oh yeah, the top islands could get into the next adventures very easily. And new players, by making the maps a lot harder, it literally just meant that they had to grind adventure, or they had to spend I think it was 30 mil for the longest time this season to get yourself in the second adventure, which is just impossible for a new player to the game, to be honest. So new players of the game just get stuck and then get bored and quit, while the top players of the game are just shooting on so far ahead. They need to make the adventure maps not available in adventure, or maybe they can make them available in adventure, but obviously a limit on claiming them until a week in, until you're allowed to claim the second map, and 3 weeks in, so you're allowed to claim the demonic map. Is what I think, or maybe 10 days in. No, maybe 7 days till you can claim the first map, and then another 7 days after that till you can claim the second map, the demonic, the dark portal, whatever. That's what I personally think. And I think that maps should be available in the science shop. You got the science shop, just make maps available at a certain price of gold, or a certain price. Make them available easily. Make them through the loot boxes incredibly common, so they just flood the market and they're pretty easy to get. So that everyone can get into the new adventures. It's just it's just delayed so that the content spreads out a little bit more, and new players don't get pushed too far behind, which is the idea of the level cap. It just didn't really work if the top islands can still progress through the adventures, and that's what the top islands do. The top islands are looking for the loot that's going to help them later down the road. They're going to stack up the nodes, they're going to stack up the spawners, they're going to stack up, they're going to get access to the recipes and the and everything before newer players, basically. So that's what I think they should change. They should definitely slow down the adventures. That's what everyone's been saying. So if at the moment it doesn't look like they're going to do that for this season. So if you take one thing from this video, please just ban people from claiming the third adventure. I mean, most islands are in the third adventure day 3. That's not fun. And most people, most of those competitive players then ended up quitting the season. Most of the lower tier players quit the season because they couldn't compete with that, and they just were looking at IS top. And I think it's just the culture on the server where people feel like they don't want to be too far behind, and people are going to quit if they see top players grinding in a full fairy set demonic in day 3 when they're not out of the chain adventure yet, because maps are so expensive and hard to get. But you know, they're easy to get for top islands at least, but they're just hard to get for a solo player trying to grind them on their own who doesn't know the strategies of making the best money, because he's new to the server. So yeah, definitely slow down adventures, and slow down the realms. Another thing, the realms are, I mean, the realms come into the game at a decent stage because they are pretty rare drops in adventure, which I kind of like. And obviously, if you cap adventures, I don't know which ones are in which adventure, but you will slow down when they can go in. You know, when the realms can have access to, when people can have access to the realms, if you limit the adventures. But I personally think that you should limit access to the realms. I mean, or you should make it a lot harder to get certain items. I mean, at least the fairy sets. I'm not good at parkour, so I've never tried the fairy. I think I might have tried it once, but I mean, it's so easy to get fairy sets, and the top islands are just gonna grind for fairy sets. They're just gonna grind the realms for the stuff they're going to need later on in the game. Now, I think obviously you should have access to fairy sets, and definitely if you set on adventures, then it's going to be quite interesting because it will actually give the iron and chain fairy sets some relevancy in the game. But I think you should either up the point requirement. Now, I don't know exactly how long they take to do, because I'm not good at doing the rounds. It might take quite a long time for an average tier player, but obviously the top islands are going to have people that have specifically practice parkour, and I've seen maps that people have built on their islands specifically to practice parkour for the Enchanted Forest round, and obviously top islands with all their alt accounts are just going to chain accounts in to run it. It should be made harder to make a god set, and you shouldn't be able to have one by day 3. It should be a lot harder than that to get a fairy set, in my opinion. So I don't know exactly what they should do to counter that. They could make them more expensive in terms of points. They could make a soft cap, so you're not allowed to buy them until later down the game. You're not, you know, I guess when the adventure unlocks, yeah, make it so you can't actually buy diamond armor from the shop until the final adventure unlocks. Or maybe when the final adventure unlocks, that will be a natural break for it, because you know, if the final adventure doesn't unlock for like 2 weeks, obviously the top islands are going to have full fairy by then. They're going to have grinded it, but maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, allow people to maybe buy the diamond gear. Just obviously if they can't go an adventure, then that kind of fixes that problem. So not too big of a problem there, but definitely they should. You know, the top islands get full fairy sets way too easily. So now I'm thinking about that more. I don't know if that is a bad thing, but at least limiting the adventures will limit people's access to get too far ahead in the god sets. Well, there you go. That's the most of what I can say. You do need to slow down the game. I'm sure they know that. We've been saying that for the longest time. I've been saying that for about 3 seasons by now. The game goes past too quickly. We're getting bored of grinding cocoa bean. It's not fun. You know, I'd much rather grind the beginning of the season out, and that's what new players are going to be doing anyway. So it brings them into the game a lot more and makes them less likely to quit. And yeah, it helps new players out that the game's at a slower pace within adventures, so they don't feel like they're being too far behind, and they're more likely to quit for that reason. And obviously, it gives the top players more content to do, because obviously all top players are going to grind to get into the final adventure, but grinding the final adventure is going to be dull if it's all you do for a month on end, and then you've only grinded. You've got rid of 2/3 of the game content within 3 days, and then you're just doing the final cocoa bean and demonic, and you're just doing the final end game, what should be end game portions of the game for the entire season, because people are so proficient at speedrunning. And I think that's part of the problem. They haven't changed the game. Nothing in the game has been changed that's made any of this worse. It's just people have gotten better at the game. Obviously, like, everyone harks back to season 2, season 3, saying that was the golden age of Sky. That was when Sky was amazing. It wasn't. The game has only gotten better. There's not really been an update apart from roll points that I've seen in the game, and I've not been a fan of. All the updates have been good, and all the updates have made the game better. The only thing that I think they could change is now that people are good enough at the game, they do need to introduce the adventure cap to. Now, there is level cap. but adventure cap as well, just to stop people from making these massive advantages. Because as soon as level cap drops, you know, day 6, the top islands are going to have a couple infinite rotation of diamond nodes, and that's still going to allow them to get far ahead of the average player. But if you allow the average player to reach the final adventure at about the same time as the top islands, it's not really going to matter, because the top islands are going to grind it more, and they're going to have access to better sets and better strats, and they're going to be in alliances where they can grind in tougher spots, and they're still going to have the advantage, which is obviously right. Top Island, it's a competitive game at this point. Top Islands should be able to get the advantages over new players, but it's at least going to give new players the ability to get into the final adventures at the same time as the top islands, which will allow them to have a stake in the economy, without the economy just being a runaway with the top islands being able to make so much more money than they can, just inflating the price of the items they need to get into the final adventure, like, XP and gems and yeah, if they're in the final adventure, even if they're not making too many nodes, the newer players to the game, they're still going to help the economy in some way, and it will still allow them to not get too far behind monetarily. And I still think the top islands, even if they do cap adventures, the top islands are still going to find enough ways, and grinding together, that it's not going to kill competitive game, and it's not going to make it that new players, a new team of Cosmic Sky players can just get onto IS top number 1. The game at the current point makes it. Now, not BMing these new people who are on IS top at the moment. Oh no, I know Happy Meal, but Shadow Knight, I've never known him. I don't really know anyone from his island from the past few seasons. It's honestly, the game at the moment, it makes it so easy with at least the Black Auction House for, the access to the end. And I agree with the price of these eyes going down so much, in a way, because it does make it easier for new players. But at the moment, the game is honestly easier to win for new players, because they're more likely to just grind out Cocoa Bean, because they haven't done it for the past 3 seasons, and it's not as boring for them. If they've never been competitive for ISTOP before, it's quite exciting, and they're more likely to put the hours in grinding Cocoa Bean. But all the top players already quit, so it doesn't really at the moment, the game how it is, it favors new players. But definitely if you spread out the content across the season a bit better, then it won't favor new players, and ISTOP is still going to be competitive, and it won't upset the top players, is what I'm saying, if you implement those changes I've been saying. Now, we're approaching half an hour, which is kind of crazy. If I can think of anything else to say, I will. I'm trying to think. Oh, well, I always like it when you add rank 5s in the Black Auction House. So if you do that a bit more again this season, that'd be great. Slotbot. I liked how I won't say that. That's not really too relevant. I'm trying to think. I think that's it. I've been saying for the longest time. The game is in a good place. They just need to slow it down, and it'll be so much better, and the content will last for a lot longer, and new players will be happier, and competitive players are going to be less bored, because they're not going to progress through the game so quickly. The game's got enough content. You just need to show it, chill it down, slow it down, and let the top islands compete for island points, and compete for extra items, and the extra special pets that are gonna help them down the road, like the direwolves and the cupids and whatever. Competing, making the most amount of money to buy those things off pay to winners. I think making mystery mask and pet boxes, well, mainly just mystery pet boxes, more available in the Black Auction House. So it's not going to bring too many direwolves into the game, but they definitely do need to add the amount of direwolves in the game and make merchants maybe slightly more common. I mean, to be honest, we still managed to get a full rotation this season, and we only had a few island members, but yeah, just making some of the more pay to win stuff in the Black Auction House would be better. And then the top islands, even if the level cap is, they're only going to be allowed to farm coal the first 7 days, which I don't think they should be only allowed to farm coal first 7 days, but access to second, maybe maybe only farm coal first 7 days, maybe only the first adventure first 7 days. That might even be what I say, because it's, the top islands are going to be grinding emeralds for the last 20-30 days anyway, apart from this season, because nodes were ridiculously hard to get. But yeah, it's not going to matter to top islands, and by the time they've got infinite rotation of coal nodes, it's only going to be like a few days of grinding, a couple of days grinding coal nodes for money or for whatever before iron gets unlocked and the second adventure gets unlocked. And I definitely reckon it should be 1 week until second adventure, possibly a week after that till third adventure, or maybe 10 days after that till third adventure, and then the abyss adventure can unlock when it unlocks. That's fine. But yeah, that is what I would say. Again, it's a bit of a rabble. I'm forgetting what I've said. I've been ranting on for so long. But I hope that helps. Definitely just slow the game down. The top players are going to compete. The top players are going to compete for money, and then they'll be able to buy some of the better items that will help them out more in the future in the Black Auction House, hopefully, if you make them more available in Black Auction House. And you know, they'll be able to buy the slot tickets, and they'll be able to compete for iron points, and they're not going to mind the caps. I'm basically just trying to persuade them that you really should implement caps, because top players really don't mind. They're going to find the ways to get an advantage. It's just going to hinder the new players. Well, it's going to help out the new players, and it's going to help out the competitive players. It's a win-win situation, because the new players are not going to get left behind so much, and the competitive players are not going to get bored so much, because they're not progressing at the same rates, which I'm sure I've said before, but I'm rambling at this point. Now I'm trying to think while I'm here. Is there anything else I would change? I mean, possibly limit the amount of slot tickets people can buy per account per day, but people are going to find a way around that anyway. So, you know, pay to win's in the game. It helps support the server for all of us, so I can't be too mad about that one. I was very annoyed when slot tickets were introduced. Yeah, I don't think they're in a terrible place. Oh, if you could bring out slot tickets in the slot shop so I can buy them. We were waiting for a dyer. I guess the dyers never showed up, but yeah, if they could do that so I could buy some slot tickets to open, that would be cool before the season resets. And yeah, I can't think of much wrong with the server. This isn't really a bashing session. There's not much wrong with it. I mean, a few new features are always nice. I can't think of what I would add at this point for new features. Yeah, just honestly, just slow the game down, and you're going to be onto a winner for sure, for sure. But anyway, that's pretty much my piece. I guess I could complain about quests. I've never really done quests and know how overpowered they are. People say they're overpowered. Maybe look at quests and look at the balance in as to how much money you can make from doing quests. Admin team, because the fact all the top players seem to keep doing it must mean it's quite strong and should possibly be nerfed slightly. I like quests, but I like the idea of them at least. I never really do them, but yeah, I think quests are cool. It's just it's just the pure money. I don't really know about the items. I don't think the items are ever too overpowered, but even with the quest kit, it doesn't seem too strong. But definitely the yeah, definitely the money you can get at the later levels seems a bit overpowered. So nerf that, possibly, or at least look into, do the maths on and roll them a few times. Get an admin to a level and roll the quest a few times and see how much money you make at certain levels if you don't know exactly. Try and fix the algorithm slightly and make sure it's not too skewed, because at the moment it seems like you don't make much money at the lower levels, but at the higher levels you seem to make a little bit too much. So look into that. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if you brought back Slayer Sams, so give the top islands again something to compete for, because now you know, the only problem with that in that season when Stian had them and nobody else had was just asymmetric information. Stian is just such a genius. He knew, you know, he found a good way to get an advantage that all the other islands hadn't thought of. But I didn't think those were overpowered particularly. I mean, they were, but with how long it took to level them up, I didn't think they were, and it definitely made the game less grindy for Slayer, because I think grinding for Slayer is a big grind to get up to Enderman, but it is doable. So, you know, maybe don't change that. I don't know. If it's only available for the top islands, but I guess the end game content is only available for like the 20, 30, 50 man islands, whatever. So maybe don't change that too much. I'm literally just stalling for time while I try and think of something else I don't like. That's literally it. You just gotta remove role points, honestly. Remove the levels. Remove these. Or make them so they don't matter as much as they do now, because they really matter to new players and they don't matter to the later players, and slow down the game so that it's less dull for, you know, so new players don't get, so it's less dull for veteran players, and that new players don't get behind so much. But anyway, there you go, that's my piece. I'm obviously going to keep streaming the server. They, you know, I love the server. Even if they don't implement any of these changes, the beginning of the season is still going to be fun. I'll be disappointed that the end of the season will just, you know, be so boring. I'm not going to want to stream it again. But definitely at the beginning of the season, even if they make no changes, it's still good fun, and I'm still going to play it and stream it and whatever. I guess one change they should do for this season, which isn't really game related, is hire more YouTubers to promote it. Because there was no advertising last season, and that obviously helps out the server. So if you can get more than just Rob streaming it, then that would be great, I guess. That would be great as far as big names to the server. I mean, I came from Vic. I know loads of people who came from Vic. A few people, most people in my community came from Pete as well. So yeah, definitely look into hiring maybe a couple YouTubers would be good, because I mean the Cosmic players who want to keep creating content for the server are getting bored of it at this point, and are gonna move on to, I mean, people like Stian saying he's probably gonna move on to Hypixel Skyblock after one more season of Cosmic, because he's just you know, there's no growth in the server without the advertising, and definitely the server, I hope, makes enough money and should be able to make enough money to support that. Or just promote the creators you currently got. I mean, I know Sweet Booty quit, Jenizen quit. I'm thinking about YouTubers. I mean, streamers still bring in quite a few people. I mean, I bring in maybe, you know, 400 or 500 views a stream. But you know, it's not as big as the big YouTubers. So definitely, yeah, definitely encourage them to keep streaming. Give out some creator codes. Give out whatever. And I'm not just saying that because I want one. But yeah, definitely encourage the people who do support your server to keep creating content for it and helping it grow. And yeah, I hope next season is good fun. I am recruiting from Ireland. If anyone is, I don't know who's watching this at this point, genuinely. Who am I talking to? Nobody. But anyway, pass this on to admins. Hopefully they take on the criticism that I've said. Constructive, of course. And yeah, good luck for next season. I will definitely be playing. I'll be playing every season of Cosmic. They can't get rid of me as much as they might try. I still love playing the server and still going to keep playing it. So yeah, hopefully they address those changes, and next season will honestly be amazing. And the content has changed enough with even minor tweaks to this point where bringing back new YouTubers would be viable. But anyway, that's that. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully pass on to admins and they see and make the changes. I mean, the changes I've been saying for ages, so they hopefully should already have done if they wanted to do them, or they would have at least known that I wanted and lots of other people in the community wanted. But things like Sasha Rolls and Sasha Adventure limits, I'm not asking for game-changing changes. Actually, one small thing while we're at it. Now, obviously, you might have heard Stian complaining about the minigames. I don't think the minigames should be changed. I could go into that, but honestly, it's very late in the video, 40 minutes in, so let's not go into that. But yeah, keep the minigames how they are. Bring down the amount of players needed to start them, though, because when they don't start, it's a bit upsetting. It's a bit disappointing. And obviously, don't stretch them out this much. Yeah, this was an update, which I'm not a fan of. If you bring down the amount of players needed to start each game, then you don't need like a 4-minute wait time. They can go on simultaneously and it's fine. Maybe slow them down, maybe so they're not every half hour each, they're every hour each maybe for each of the games, or if they are every 45 minutes or every hour now, maybe make it so they're more there's like a hour and a little bit waiting time between them. But yeah, definitely I think it's a 30-minute wait time. It used to be, at least, before they implemented this change. But I think that this change was just a thing because the server was dying and there's less people on, so it was just to actually have the mini games start. But definitely bring down the amount of players in the game, and it's going to encourage people to join because people want to join a game with less players in because they got more chance of winning the slot tickets. And yeah, please don't change mini games because it's a good way for new players. They're good fun, and you know, they definitely should be rewarded for playing them. And the top islands don't do them anyway, so they're not meta. They're not meta, but they are good. So please don't change them, even if Stian wants you to, because he's not always right. And anyway, thank you for watching. Pass on to admins, blah blah blah. End of video. Geez, 20, 30, too long this video has been going on for. So thank you for watching. Pass on to admins. Yeah, bye.